Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows. Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Metro Auto Rebuild Weekend Warriors League. This is round number 5 of this season, coming to you today from Interlagos. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Guido Marzucchi is our producer for today's broadcast. Well, Charles, for the first time since the season opener of last season, we head off to Interlagos for the 5th round of what has been a very confusing season here for the Spec Racer Fords. Lots of different winners, lots of different challengers, many interesting races that we have already had, but here at Interlagos at this rather draft-heavy racetrack, expecting that trend of slight confusion to maybe continue here today.
Yeah, you talk about Interlagos it's really a very technical track, but the draft is very important here, and it's going to make for some interesting battles. And I think the person who can utilize the draft along with some really good braking skills is probably going to end up near the front or winning this race.
Yeah, so I think trying to maximize a run down off into these heavy braking zones is going to be vital. Make sure you can get the good runs out of the turns, keep that slipstream rolling. There'll be a lot of things to keep in mind for this race, but considering that we are entering the 5th round of this season, maybe a good idea to take a look at the championship points as we head off into this round of the championship. Have seen many different race winners, many different storylines already develop here in this season, and we'll start off as usual with Spec 1, where Nathaniel Schramm is your current championship points leader. He won at Tsukuba for race number 2 of this season, but since then hasn't visited Victory Lane. He's just been consistently there, always up towards the front, and even with a slightly disappointing race at Sebring a couple of weeks ago, still holds on to the points lead over Kane Halliburton in P2, who was able to get his 2nd win of the championship at Watkins Glen 1 week ago. Jason Green slotted in 3rd, Felix Samoas in 4th, with Joshua Justice completing your top 5 in Spec 1. And now we will take a gander at Spec 2, where Alexander Corson is your championship points leader over there. He has had 2 wins up to this point in the season, holds on to a somewhat comfortable gap between himself and Ben Rycroft. Could be a little bit bigger, though, as it stands right now, only 15 points the tally between those two competitors. Matt Thompson is slotted in 3rd. Dmitry Lukanov, the standout star thus far this season over on the Formula Ford side of things, slotted in 4th here in the Spec Racer Fords after a win at Watkins Glen last time out, with Daniel Wood completing your top 5. And now we will look at Masters, where Antonio Reese has been the master of this category up to this point. 3 wins already this season. His streak of wins got snapped because he wasn't at Watkins Glen 1 week ago, with Charlie Vaccaro actually taking the victory in his 1 and only start thus far this season. Yergmani slotted behind Antonio Reese in P2. Kurt Nunez is slotted in 3rd. Tom Gradwell and Chris Thorpe complete your top 5 in the Masters category. So that's how it looks in the championship point standings as we head off into this round of the championship. Charles, as we talked about right at the north end of the show, going to be a very tricky race. So once again, the keys may be a very good cheat sheet for these competitors here today.
Yeah, for me, the keys to today's race are pretty straightforward. Drafting is necessary. Bump drafting encouraged. Obviously, 2 cars locked together will be faster than 1, so you want to maximize that draft in every way possible. Obviously, no bump drafting during qualifying. That'll invalidate your lap. Braking with elevation changes is very difficult, especially those downhill braking zones with turn 1, turn 4, and then a couple in the infield as well in the mid part of the track. So that is one you really got to be focused on. Get the car stopped and make good runs out of those corners, and then finally you want to manage your throttle through those corners. Yeah, you got to keep your momentum up. And these cars, you start losing momentum and you start falling back in a hurry. So those are the 3 big keys for me today, and I'm sure that we'll have some other ones as well as we move further through the race session here.
And as we look ahead to this race, look ahead to the rest of the season, want to let you folks know once again, as we have done throughout a vast majority of this season, that this season of Spec Racer Forward Weekend Warriors action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting is made possible by the fine folks over at Metro Auto Rebuild. When it comes to repairing your vehicle after an accident, you'll hear a lot of different terms thrown around, like aftermarket or reconditioned parts, blend within the panel, spot refinish, direct repair program. The list really goes on and on. Before you make any final decisions, ask us the true definition of those words. In most cases, they may not actually be the best thing for your car. If you want your vehicle restored using factory methods and specifications with OEM required tools and equipment, depend on the professionals at Metro Auto Rebuild. We will give you honest answers about the repair process, your rights, and your responsibilities. You really want someone who's there with you every step of the way. We'll get you back on the road safely, timely, and with our guarantee that you will love our workmanship. Please let us answer any questions you have about the repair process. We're here to answer your questions about estimates, insurance company coordination, and billing, as well as rental car coordination too. Visit our website anytime at MetroAutoRebuild.com. We would like to thank Metro Auto Rebuild for sponsoring this season of Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors action. Now, the business and the keys and everything talked about right at the start of this broadcast. Let's move off into this qualifying session. 3 minutes left on the board. Nathaniel Schramm holds on to that pole position as it stands at the moment. Jörg Monty slotted in P7, your current top qualifier in Masters. Alexander Gorson at the top of a very competitive Spec 2 category, but all throughout this qualifying session, we're going to see more and more drivers set some quicker times on the board as they look to try and improve their times and also get any bit of slipstream that they can around this very challenging racetrack.
Yeah, the drivers are starting to kind of pack up a little bit to get some of the guys. It may pick up a half a second in the draft if you're behind at least an equally fast car that's not going to hold you up as we're looking through it. I'm just kind of looking down. We've got some new driver names in the timing tower there. Martin Visser sitting there in P8. We've got Declan Marsden sitting in 10th. We've got, let's see who else, Manfred Floor 15th. Christoph Langendonk sitting there in 18th. Timo Nolte down in 24th. So a host of new drivers out here for their first race. And I think they've picked a good one to jump in. We've got a 35-car field today. So the field is still out there in full force, and we're going to end up having a nice run.
Yeah, I think we certainly will. And speaking of the challenge of this track, let's do a quick onboard lap with Josh Justice as he heads his way down into turn number 1. The Senna S to begin this lap is a notoriously tricky section. Good spot to get a move done, but also very tricky. Now, with this old scan of Interlagos as well, got to worry about those very fine margins as you head your way off through there. The runoff area, not a lot to go around there. Now, heading your way off through turn number 3 onto the back straightaway. Let's see another heavy braking zone. All right, talked about turn number 1. Let's talk about turn number 4. Don't tell me he's going to pull off the track. Okay, he pulls over to the side to let Alexander Gorson go by. Heading off into turn number 4. Shows off that turn 4 is a very good overtaking opportunity, but you need to get done with authority. That runoff area on the outside is super unforgiving. It's hungry for your safety rating. It's hungry for your time. Pick up a slow down through there, and you're going to be in for a world of hurt as you head your way now off into sector 2. Starting off with turn number 6 and 7, cresting the hill. Now on the brakes, you're going to go into turn number 8. Starting off a series of cascading hairpins. Start off with 8, down into turn number 9, a bit more open compared to the turn that preceded it. Got to keep the momentum rolling through there. Utilize that curb a little bit, then get yourself set up on the left-hand side of the road before you head off into the hairpin at turn number 10. This is Alexander Albon's least favorite corner in his entire Formula One career, and I think Lewis Hamilton has some odd memories about that as well. But Hamilton's got some good memories about this turn. Jung Sao, turn number 12 around this racetrack, and we will, in haste, apologize for any butchered Brazilian name pronunciations throughout this broadcast, but that turn's super vital. You have got to get to the exit out of there as best as you possibly can. We saw it in the season opener last season here with the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors, where Eric Luke and Kane Lasky were involved in a very close finish. That right there is a pit entry. Thought that Josh Justice was going to slam it into the pit attenuator, but that completes a lap here at Interlagos. Very, very quick, super high pace. Expecting a lot of drama throughout tonight as Ian Joyner has jumped up into the pole position. Schramm now slotted in P2, but right now Schramm has actually got the drift from Joyner. Let's see what the drive the number 26 car can do right at the end of this qualifying session. Green in sector 1, yellow throughout the mid portion of the lap. What can Schramm do as he comes across the line? He actually comes across the line of pit entry, so Schramm not going to be able to jump up into another spot.
No, absolutely not. As qualifying is finishing up here. We've currently got 12 cars within 1 second. It was up as much as 16 earlier. So it just shows you that we've got some very fast drivers up at the front. And we've got some, it's going to be some pretty close racing, at least for the first part of the race, until these cars get settled down. You've got, as I said, 12 cars within a second. You've got 23 cars within 2 seconds and one just outside of that. So looking forward to a very dangerous but interesting start to this race. People have to keep their heads on straight, focus in. Let's get through the first lap and let's do some really good racing here at Interlagos. We get through the first lap pretty clean, and we're going to have a really good race on our hands.
Yeah, it is going to be a darn good one. We expect some drama. We expect some action at Interlagos every single time there's a race here. Doesn't matter whether it's in a Spec Racer Ford, a Formula V, a Formula Ford, a Radical. Doesn't really matter what it's going to be. Interlagos always puts on a good show. Bit of a shame that it's not the host of the F1 season finale anymore, but you got to take the wins and the losses whenever they come. And F1, when it comes to some of the schedules, decisions that they've made over the years have definitely taken their fair share of L's, but that's neither here nor there. With the checkered flag out in qualifying, I want to touch on some of the storylines that look to be coming out of this qualifying session with just about nobody out there on the racetrack. It looks like we will continue on a streak of various different pole sitters thus far this season, but we'll actually have our first repeat pole sitter in the Spec 1 category. Ian Joyner, your pole sitter at Sebring a couple of weeks ago, will start this race from the pole unless we see a random disqualification from him in this qualifying session, as the time is slowly but surely ticking down with nobody out there. Joyner going to start this race up at the front. Nathaniel Schramm, despite the fact that he is your championship points leader, yet to grab a pole, and he only has one win, that coming at Tsukuba all the way back in round number 2 of the season. Touching on the Spec 2 category, that is always up in the air. Alexander Gorson looking to return to form. This is his first pole since Tsukuba all the way back in race number 2. He's going to be starting this race up in a good spot, firmly inside of the top 10. Yurkani continuing on his dominance in the Masters category. Let's take a look at the starting grid, though, before we head off into this race here today. Going to be Ian Joyner starting this race from the pole position. Nathaniel Schramm will join him on the front row. Kane Halliburton is going to start this race in third. Next year, Masters pole sitter of Yurkani. Not the first time he started from the pole, probably will not be the last either. Joao Tabino, who I did hear had some connection issues during practice. We'll have to keep an eye on your 5th place starter, as he will hope that those have been resolved. Alongside him on that third row will be Josh Justice. Dirk Braun will start this race in 7th alongside Jason Green. Martin Visser will start in 9th with Alexander Gorson, your Spec 2 pole sitter, rounding out your overall top 10.
Yep, Declan Marston starts in 11th. Dmitry Lukanov starting in P12. Ben Rycroft, another Spec 2 driver, starting in 13th. Josh Wilkie starting in 14th. Manfred Floor starting in 15th. Scott Russell starts in P16. Thomas Renders, previous race winner, starting in 17th. Matt Thompson starts in 18th. Christoph Langendock starts in 19th. Adam Bradshaw starting in 20th. Kevin Adrian starts in P21. Philip Berry, the Cookie Monster, starts in P22. Joaquin Osbeck starting in 23rd. Timo Nolte starting in 24th. Brad Cathcart starting in 25th. Chris Thorpe starting in P26. Kurt Nunez starting in 27th. Jim Brewster starting in 28th. Paul Jackson starts in P29. Josh Flores starts in P30. Rounding out the rest of the grid, you've got Nicholas Rycroft starting in 31st. Peter Zoldo starting in 32nd. Charlie Vaccaro, last week's Masters winner, starting in 33rd. Andrea Favini starting in 34th. And Marcus Burkett starting in 35th. And that rounds out your 35-car qualifying grid.
And so those are your starters. Just to wrap up on the storyline that I was raising before we got that starting grid graphic up, Yurkani now going to make it 4 straight Masters pole positions in a row. Pretty darn good performance from Yurk, but despite that, hasn't been able to grab a win up to this point in the season. We'll see if he can change that here today. The drivers still trying to line up on this formation lap before we get it all up and rolling. They're about to head their way off into turn at number 6 to get this pace lap underway. Charles, there are many iconic corners around Interlagos, many that prove to be challenging no matter what kind of car is racing around here. I want to put you on the spot and ask you what you think is probably going to be the most treacherous corner on lap 1.
Lap 1 is probably going to be turn 1. Unfortunately, that's just kind of the way this is because of cold tires, cold brakes, heavy braking down into turn 1 for that Senna S, but then follow up with that turn 4. You just get too far wide on that. The car's not, properly prepared to taking high-speed corners, and that the outside of that just the track just falls away, and it's very tough to recover it. So those are the two high spots I'm looking for on the first lap of the race, and probably every lap of the race, to be honest. I think the key corner is obviously Yunsao, that final corner before the straightaway. You have to get that right. It's also another one of those that once you get over the crest of the curb on the outside, it just kind of falls off, and it's very hard to recover it without losing lots of time. So those are the 3 that we're going to start looking at right off the bat.
So certainly many points of contention for these competitors. They got to negotiate it as cleanly as they possibly can at the start if they want to have a chance as visiting victory lane here in the 5th round of this season. Only 11 rounds of this season of Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors action, so every race has a little bit more importance than it usually does here in the championship, but nonetheless, seeing that pace car pulled down pit lane, the field now in the hands of our front row sitters, waiting for that green flag to come out, which it has now, and the drivers scramble behind as they're on their way down into turn number 1. Look at that. Ian Joyner already getting a bit of a push from Kane Halliburton in that number 12 car. Gonna head their way off downtown into 1 and 2. Who's gonna make it work? Already some drama a little bit farther behind. Drivers sliding big time. I think that may have been looking through. Not sure who that was running into some difficulties. Scott Russell, yeah, running into difficulties for him. See Ben Rycroft dropping down. Feels like there's tension building as we look at Nathaniel Schramm and Kane Halliburton starting to duke it out too.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh Justice got a great start at the front of this. Picked up a couple of spots. He's starting to fall back now on the outside of Monty there, going through turn 4. Josh Wilkie was the other car that was involved in that incident going down into turn 1. And he has towed back to the pits also. So Wilkie and Russell back in the pits, and I don't think we cursed him this time. I think that was just all him.
Yeah, I don't think the commentator's jinx falling anvil came from us. I think that was just sent directly from the heavens, which, I mean, hey, if you've seen a race at Interlagos, you know the heavens can usually open up rather easily here. So let's just wait and see if we got ourselves a little battle going on here. Side-by-side racing heading off into turn number 10, a little bit farther in the back. At the front, though, they are smooth, clean, and cool. It's Ian Joyner leading over Nathaniel Schramm over Kane Halliburton in that number 12 car. Jörg Monty, top of the Masters competitors, currently slotted in P4 overall. So Alexander Gorson still leads in Spec 2, up 2 spots from where he started in this race. He's jumped his way up to 9th. And a special shout-out, 8th, my apologies. A special shout-out, though, to Phil Barry. He's up 9 spots in that 888 Cookie Monster machine. He's been picking off those crumbs and munching on them ever since the drop of the green.
Yeah, here we go. Battle going down to turn 1 here amongst our front runners. Almost 3 wide going down into 1. Everybody's looking to see if they can maximize those runs down the front straight.
So here we go. The duking out already starting. Contact made a little bit farther behind. That is a big spin for Matt Thompson. Pulls it off 360. Gonna have to run off into the dirt on the inside turn number 2, but he's still out and away. Nathaniel Schramm, your race leader, Ian Joyner and Kane Halliburton now duking it out side by side down into turn number 4. Joyner gonna hold off on that challenge for now. Side by side going on a little bit farther behind all throughout this field. In fact, look at Jim Brewster starting to get some moves done on the other newcomer of Christoph Lagadong. Let's see what the driver, the number 10 car, can do in his Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors debut. Everybody's still shuffling. These starts here at Interlagos are usually quite frenetic, quite scary as well for those racers out there on the racetrack. There's many times in Weekend Warriors action where I'm happy that I only have the stress of a commentator, not as a driver. This race is one of them.
Well, there we go. You see the 4 wide there. That just never worked. Looks like Russell kind of moved out, did not realize there were 2 cars on his outside, takes out Wilkie, takes out another car that might have been Matt Thompson as well, in that kind of multicolored car as on the outside. Can't really see the number. No, it's the 25 car.
I'm looking through. You can certainly see
25,
Scott Russell involved in that.
Yep. Oh. Yep. So Timo Nolte was the other car there. It was on the far wide right there. As we get another replay here, this is Matt Thompson. Car on the outside. Car diving the inside. Oh, that's Ozbeck, and just locks it up. And that is turn 1. That is the nature of turn 1. You see it locking up, coming down in there, just carrying way too much speed, and catches Thompson and spins him. We've got, if you look at our timing tower, there are no gaps. There were no gaps above a second in like the top 20. And that just shows you how what kind of race this is going to be. As we've got Langendonk off there, and has a slowdown. Have to work that off, so he's going to lose several positions there with his initial foray here, down 9 spots. So, but plenty of time. We're only 4 minutes into this race.
Yeah, very tough moment for Langendonk, but very easy moment to have happen heading down into turn number 1. That runoff area is asphalt in real life, but here in the sim, it is still grass on the slightly older scan of Interlagos. Gotta worry about that on these somewhat older scans where it is so different compared to how it is in real life. Just about every portion of this racetrack has had a slight alteration outside the racing, outside the actual layout of the track itself. A lot of the runoff area has changed. A lot of the decorations around this circuit have changed, and there's also been other parts added in. The pit entry, very different here. It's usually quite abrupt in this version of iRacing, can very easily strike the pit attenuator, which, hey, we saw enough of that on the Ferrari Road and Oval Challenge broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting just a couple of days ago. I do not want to see another car slam straight into a pit attenuator and achieve low Earth orbits.
Yeah, that's never that's never a good thing. We're back up to the front here. You've got Joyner leading Schramm, leading Halliburton, and you just see the train as you've got the train all the way back down to Jason Green in 7th. A little bit bigger of a gap back to Gorson, but you just see that just continue on in that draft. The more those cars fight with each other, the more that draft is going to come into play. That's going to keep all these battles really, really tight together. As you see, the first real gap over a second is all the way down to P13, Thomas Renders. Everybody else is within a second of the car in front. That's just crazy. And I don't know that it's going to change until we get to our pit cycle.
Yeah, we have still got so long until the pit window opens for everybody. I mean, we do have the pit window usually opening about 10 minutes into these races, but you don't usually see those racers who came in the pits right at the very start make it all the way through to the end and get a good result out of it. I think Jason Green did that at Silverstone a couple of years ago, and that was such a strong performance that we gave him the moniker of Professor as a result. So maybe a little while until we see these racers actually make that call off into pit lane. Side-by-side racing with Gerard Tabino and Kane Halliburton in the number 12 cars. They duke it out through there. Who's going to win out in this battle? We can give it to Halliburton as he holds on to the inside line through 9, and he's now going to try and fight it back down to turn number 10. It's himself and Nathaniel Schramm now duking that for second. Halliburton, if he was here consistently, he would be contending for the championship. He already is, but just missed out on a couple of rounds a little bit earlier on.
Yeah, and with a couple of drop rounds, once those get factored in, then it's very possible that he's still contending for a championship. And he's just a fantastic racer. I know you and I have both covered him in other series, and he's up at the front more often than not. It doesn't matter what car he's in, and so it's kind of like when we get a Gustavo Ariel come in and run a few races with us. You just kind of know that that guy's going to be up near the front of the pack before it's all said and done. And same thing with Kane. He's a fantastic racing driver. And so it doesn't matter what equipment you give him. He's just going to go out and go fast.
Yeah, Kane Halliburton, a driver that I first got used to racing in radical SR10 machinery here on the iRacing platform, and these Spec Racer Fords pretty much as strong of a drafter as the SR10 is, and he was darn good in those cars, darn good in these. Pretty sure he also has a YouTube channel where he posts some very popular track guides and setups and all that stuff. He is a darn good racer on the iRacing platform, and let's see him out here on the Weekend Warriors racetrack with the other fantastic competitors that we have got here in this championship. The Spec Racer Fords always feels like my home series, considering for the longest time it was the only series that was broadcasted of the Weekend Warriors. The Formula Vs, of course, you can catch on Saturdays here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. There was a stint with them being broadcasted over on Global Sim Racing Channel. Our old Weekend Warriors pals over there. We won't talk about PBS Kids at the other broadcast. We're on for a very brief period of time, but I think someone I've gotten the opportunity to work with for a decent period of time now. So Joe Peak used to cover some Spec Racer Ford and Formula V action. The Formula Fords, even though they're on Sundays with the big series, the SRFs, they're pretty much the baby in the Weekend Warriors world, as those cars have been around for the shortest period of time, and it's still cool to see all these cars. I think I can actually remember the same day that I did my first Weekend Warriors broadcast was the same day of the first ever Formula Ford race. I think Megan Overstreet, a Weekend Warriors name, if anyone remembers her, fantastic racer in the past year in the series. She was the first winner of the Formula Ford. So awesome history here in the Weekend Warriors, where I always love to recount and tell the stories of races gone by. But we have got some racing in the present as we got some 3-watt action down off off into the turn. Look at Joao Tabino going for the dive off into turn number 1.
Yeah, they're really racing hard up at the front, and as you see now, looking at the intervals, that train is now 15 cars deep. So the more they race up at the front for the overall lead, the more cars are going to get involved in this, and it's already at 15 cars, and it will continue to grow. There's a big gap between Floor and Adrian running in 16th. So that one might take a while, but the more these cars slow themselves down, fighting side by side through corners, the more it's going to allow all those cars behind to pick up, and they'll start picking up time in big chunks as these cars fight side by side.
Still continuing to scrap for any sort of spot. This train of cars up at the front, pure unbridled madness. That side-by-side racing between your reigning Spec 2 champion of Dirk Braun, side-by-side with Declan Marzucchi as they head their way off through turn number 10. That's a battle for P11 as it stands currently. Braun, not the best start in the world for him. He's down 5 spots from where he started in this race. Marzucchi currently holding on to the same spot that he started in, along with a surprisingly long stretch of cars. It's Green, Visser, Gorson, and Marzucchi all holding on to the exact same spot that they started in. And if you include Josh Justice, who's involved in that train, with the exception of Dmitry Lukanov up 5, kind of splitting that train up. Those are the only racers throughout this field, with the exception of Manfred Floor as well. They're running in the same spot that they started in. These races get so frenetic that that is about as rare as a Stradivarius.
Yeah, and my guess is that they're already thinking about fuel saving. So there's probably a bit of fuel saving going on at the front, which I think is inviting more cars up there, along with the side-by-side battles as cars may be lifting and coasting a little bit, and just giving those cars behind just much bigger runs into the corners. So it's keeping those cars tight. We got a nice battle here. See a little bump drafting between Ben Rycroft and Kevin Adrian as they're working their way down into turn 4. This 4-car battle here, Rycroft, Adrian, Adam Bradshaw, and Joaquin Osbeck, basically fit 16th through 18th. They've got a 4.5-second gap to make up to get to that front pack of 15. So it's not outside the realm of possibility at this point. We're only 12 minutes into the race, and I think pit strategy is going to start playing a role in this one pretty quickly. This may be the prime race for maybe an undercut strategy to work really well.
Yeah, that is a fantastic point that you bring up there, Charles. We may end up seeing some of these racers just throw caution to the wind, for lack of a better term, and try and go for some off-the-wall, wacky, and even bonkers strategies, if we want to break out all the scientific terms here. As that is a slide around into turn number 8. Unfortunate moment for Ben Rycroft in the 735 cars. He loops it off into the turn. The braking zone down into turn number 8, maybe one of the most challenging ones on the entirety of the track, because you're still coming out of 6 and 7. The left side tires are screeching in agony, and you also have a bit of a bowling out effect when you head your way off through there. The track meeting the curb, it kind of comes to a pyramid point, and sometimes you can pretty much Tony Hawk Pro Skater your way into that turn, grind on that bit of the curb, and just slide off into the turn as if grip and tires just never existed.
Yeah, and we're looking at Lukanov is getting a good push there from Josh Justice down the little short straight here into 4. And Lukanov was looking really aggressive, was trying to make a move on Jorg Monty going down into 1 and couldn't quite pull it off. Gave him a little bit of a gap, but Justice is saying, "No, you get back up there. Get back up there right now. We're still fighting for a race win." So Lukanov, obviously, very, very racy. Finished second in our Formula Ford race with the fastest lap just a little while ago. So he's definitely got some good pace in these Weekend Warriors cars, and he's starting to show it here in the Spec Racer.
It's really cool to see the Weekend Warriors crossover between racers running in either both of the Sunday series or maybe even all 3. It's Nice to see Jason Green out there on the racetrack here in the Spec Racer Fords. He used to run in all 3 championships. I think he's taken a step back from Formula V and Formula Ford competition, which I do kind of miss. But of course, he's usually one of the top guys here in the Spec Racer Fords. Usually leads the post-race driver review and is also the team captain on Slow Motion Racing as they look to compete in the upcoming Suzuka 1000 iRacing special event here soon. Joao Tabino dropping down. What is the deal with Tabino, that number 50 car? Not seeing a slowdown for him, but he is just painfully slow as he crawls his way up the hill. What is the deal for him? Is he maybe running out of gas? Did he put qualifying fuel in that car? He's coming down pit lane. Something is awry with that 50 machine.
Yeah, something's not right with that car. I'm sorry.
Oh. Great point from Guido. He can't run out of gas. He can't set the fuel here.
Yeah, so that maybe he missed a shift coming out of that corner. That's the only thing I can think of that would cause him to be that slow, unless he's having some hardware issues in his rig or something that maybe he's got a problem. But yeah, definitely came into the pits. He's already finished with his pit stop, 10 point, right at 11-second stop time. So pretty good stop there. Kevin Adrian in the pits as well. So yeah, it's just kind of odd, but he's made his pit. He's our first guy to come in at the 15-minute mark of the race. So we'll see if the undercut, whether it was intended or not, will actually be a benefit to him.
Yeah, so only time will tell. Maybe a slightly needed call just to get out of the pure unbridled chaos that has already been going on here in this race. I mean, this pack of cars, there's only so much battling you can have before something snaps. I usually bring this up in reference to the Formula V Weekend Warriors. As Dmitry Lukanov, he's had a spin. That's troubles for him as he heads his way out turn number 10. Smoke up in the air, had to have been either a half spin or a full spin, whatever the case may be. Slowing down big time from Lukanov as we take a look at the replay to see exactly what happened. Down off into turn number 10. This hairpin super tricky to nail down. Bit of a stack up, and there you can see spinning through the turn. Jason Green very lucky to only have a slight tap to the front clip of that race car. That could have been so much worse for him.
That could have been really bad. It could have taken out about 8 cars there, but just a simple spin. Maybe it's too much throttle. As now Green comes into the pits, so he wants to get any damage that might have happened on that front of that car. He wants it repaired right now. He does not want to lose any pace, as Visser now just sets the fastest lap of the race in P6. Great run by him, 147.66. So good lap as we see some battling going on here. This is the 10 car and the 25. This is Nolte and Van Langendock as they're battling. You just kind of see that was Nolte that just was losing the rear. Had to check it up and adjust and kind of went wide and hit Langendock. And so a little bit of contact between those 2 cars, and those have dropped down the order just a little bit more as we now have a gap now between our top 6 and our P7th runner in Dirk Braun.
And, side-by-side battling all through turn number 6 and 7 here at Interlagos usually does not work out well. Tough to see those 2 newcomers get involved in their fair share of drama all through there. But again, side-by-side racing, you're kind of asking for it to a certain extent. It usually does not end well. Usually results in 2 racers going for what I like to call the Sao Paulo shuffle as you slide off the track, completely out of control of your race car.
Yeah, and you see that gap now. That's the gap that was caused by the Lukanov spin. As he lost the car, the gap increased a little bit more when Jason Green came into the pits. And so Tabino is the first car in line that has pitted, running currently in P22. Green just behind him by about a second in 23rd. And now we've got Halliburton in the pits.
So Kane Halliburton making the call to come down pit lane. He's joined there by Manfred Flores. So the small trickling of drivers coming into the pits continues to go on. Not seeing a massive flood just yet, but are seeing some racers decide to make that early call to come down into the pit lane. And we'll have to see who's the next to maybe break away as we get closer and closer to the halfway mark of this race, round number 5 of the Metro Auto Rebuild Weekend Warriors League season here for season 4 of 2025. Nathaniel Daniel Schramm leads over Jörg Mani, those two leading in both Spec 1 and Masters respectively, as this man Alexander Gorson, who we follow in the 621, your current leader in the Spec 2 category. Bit of a break forming in this pack up at the front. Mani once again gets abducted by a UFO a little bit farther up the road. We're going to pretend that nothing happened there as we jump to this battle with it's Chris Thorpe and Andre Favini currently duking out for P17.
Yeah, and you've got Josh Flores right behind them, and Paul Jackson, and then you've got the pitted cars of Tabino and Green are on the back of this and rapidly approaching this pack. So this is where Tabino and Green are going to start making up some time, is getting in these drafts where they're able to draft amongst these cars that may be a little bit off pace a bit, to be able to draft and make some moves around and pick up some valuable time, as they are about, I'm kind of doing the math here, and it looks like they're about 5 or 6 seconds behind Halliburton, who's also pitted. So they obviously haven't made up as much time as they thought they were going to. As we see, is this everybody coming in, or is just a shortcut? This is just a shortcut coming through as they're coming up the front straight with Jörg Mani looking to take the lead.
As Dirk Braun in the pits, so he comes down pit lane from the train of cars a little bit farther up the road as they wreck farther in front, and that right there was Ian Joyner's center punch into the inside wall. He stopped. Oh, be careful on the rejoin. Dmitry Lukanov just got the spook of a lifetime. Joyner going to rejoin the racetrack, slotted in 10th, just point out that Dirk Braun was joined in the pits by Joachim Osbeck, but never mind the pit stops. I think some racers may have wanted to come down pit lane a little late, and that right there was Joyner trying to join in the pits right at the exit, but I don't think it was necessarily a conscious call from him. As we take a look at the side-by-side battling going on right in front of him, may have been a stack up. It was a stack up. Yes, it was. Bang! Contact being made, gets punted off into a spin. Around he goes, and that was Josh Justice that sent him off there in the first place.
Yeah, that was just stacking up, and just Justice couldn't get the car stopped in time, and made contact with Braun as he was hard on the brakes trying to get the car stopped behind Schramm there. And you see the damage done to Joyner's car as he is falling down the order. He with the the lack of aero in the front.
Yeah, so that may work if he's trying to get an air conditioning modification in these Spec Racer Fords, but anything other than that, and you're going to be a little bit screwed throughout the rest of this race. Do want to touch on the other track conditions, as track temperatures currently at 96 Fahrenheit. Figured I'd raise that since I think it's the first time this season that we're actually racing south of the equator, so it is technically summer here in Interlagos. Side-by-side battling with Jason Green and Chris Thorpe. That was actually Green and Flores. My apologies. Flores, part of Metro Auto Rebuild, the sponsor of this season. Visit www.metroautorebuild.com for more, as Thomas Renders, Alexander Gorson, and Deccan Martson have all come down pit lane. That is 3 more drivers breaking away. This feels like it's got the vibe of a race where nobody will really know when exactly is the right time to come down pit lane. We're just going to see a small sprinkling of racers come in lap after lap.
Yeah, Joyner's in as well. He's got to get that car fixed. So he's in the pits. You can see the lap time as coming through there. He was about, 14 seconds slower than the cars around him. So he's in with his stop. The cars are now shuffling around. Halliburton's now up to P8. He is the first car who's already pitted. Tabino's running in 12th. Green's running in 13th. They've got through that pack. They still have Andrea Favini, who is in front of them, and so that's probably a pretty good car to draft off of. Favini's usually pretty on the quicker side of the group, so that they'll enjoy having the draft off of him until he comes into the pit. You see Favini up 23 positions as he's worked his way up through the field. As you see now, Tabino working his way through. He's going to get through there nice and easy as they're working their way through 6. And now we got Green that's on the back, and he's going to make the dive to the inside. Looks like he was going to get through as well. He has indeed. And so now we're back here with Gorson, who I believe has already pitted. He has indeed. So this is P19 through P23 there. You see that nice pack of cars racing together.
Yeah, so even with the smattering of pit stops we've had up to this point, the field's still packed in like sardines throughout the vast majority of it as Josh Justice delays to come down pit lane. He breaks away from the tail end of this train that is being tailed by Martin Visser, just at the fifth lap of the race at a 147.4. Nathaniel Schramm sets his personal best at a 147.8 as the battling still will be intense up at the north end, all throughout this field for that matter. I mean, looking through the calendar that we've got of Spec Racer Ford races here in Season 4 of 2025, Interlagos, probably the biggest draft race of them all. Watkins Glen 1 week ago was pretty close, but looking through, I think the only ones that could really rival it, there's actually two pretty heavy hitters. VIR, that's going to be a draft-heavy race, and Road America, drafting will be the only game to be played that day.
Yeah, Road America is one of those that is really draft heavy. That's going to make for some really exciting battles down those straightaways. Ooh, see Zoldos there, just missing the braking just a little bit. Just bails out of that corner, takes the off track, and gets that car restarted in the proper direction. As we see Floor dropping down that we're just a bit there, down into P20. Here's our 3-car front group. And Lukanov is about 5.5 seconds back. He's got Philip Berry in tow, so he does have some help there, to run with, who's up and now into the top 5. Adam Bradshaw running in 6th. Halliburton, our first car that's pitted, is closing quickly on Bradshaw, running in P7. So he's going to be able to make up some time pulling the draft off of Bradshaw here as we're working through. And we're at 25 minutes in. Let's see who's the next car to come in. So we're going to get a battle here going down the front straight once again for the lead. Yeah,
Monty and Schramm duking it out once again for this race lead. Phil Berry now got to be the latest to come into the pits. Pits from P2 in the Spec 2 category as Monty holds on to the race lead still. Did want to say, just tying a nice little bow around the other moment for Zoldos heading down into Zhongzhou of turn number 12. I thought that he was going to try and pull off a Kimi Räikkönen and just leave the racetrack there in the runoff area. It looked like he was going to do it. Had to turn back around as he was not able to do that, although that would be pretty cool if iRacing does a rescan. Have those small little escape chutes so you can try and explore the track limits, or I still think that Kimi may have gotten slightly lost that day, or it was just very, very smart from him. But, we're talking about the Brazilian Grand Prix from 2012, so that is long in the rearview mirror. I wasn't even watching Formula One at that point, although this track was the first ever F1 race I watched back in 2014. So the more you know, I guess, potentially, kind of. I don't really know. We still got a race going on out there. As Ian Joyner with a damaged race car has gotten that damage repaired. He's now battling in the 8 car with the AAA to Phil Berry.
Yeah, he's sitting there running in 15th. Obviously lost quite a bit of time with the spin and the damage. So as you can see, he's going to make that move to the inside of Paul Jackson. And that looks like that's going to go just quite nicely, nice and easy. Paul Jackson just kind of leaving it wide as Phil Berry comes with him. Renders is coming with him also. So Paul's going to move to the back of this little 4-car group and just trying to hang on. We've got Langendog down a little bit further down in 25th with the black flag. So I'm wondering if that is for, I'm guessing that's incident limit. So he's going to have to come in and serve the drive-through as we see Visser pulling off and going into the pits. That leaves 2 cars up at the front.
Yeah, Martin Visser, the latest to come down pit lane. It leaves these two all by their lonesome with Jörg Mania and Nathaniel Schramm now going to be duking out uninterrupted for the race lead. We have a brief moment similar to what we had at the finish of the Formula Ford race earlier on today on slow motion broadcasting of the top 3 made up entirely of your leaders in all 3 of our classes. Awesome to see that. With Monty, your current Masters leader, holding on to the overall race lead. Nathaniel Schramm in P2 and Dmitry Lukanov, the Spec 2 leader, holding on to P3, the final spot on the podium. So pretty cool to see that. These Spec Racer Ford races can usually be a little bit frenetic. I'm thinking in the past, which is why everybody around me can smell the smoke. I can't remember the last time we had a non-Spec 1 driver win in the Spec Racer Fords. It may have been Jörg Mani probably about a half a year ago.
Yeah, I was going to say it probably was one of the two, either Monty or Reese. They're usually up near the front. But yeah, did we not have in the Formula 4 race, didn't we have top 3 qualifying and race results?
That we
All
did.
three, yeah, all three classes. So that. I'm not sure that's ever happened in the history of the Weekend Warriors. That we have to go back a long way to do the research. But yeah, so I mean that was pretty interesting as we still have those three cars up at the front, a little bit of a gap. Lukanov's time is pretty close to the leader, so he's not losing time by himself. But obviously, it's very difficult to make up time as a one car, as we now have the two leaders into the pit. So this is going to change things.
Now we've got the pit stops going on for those top racers. We've been expecting them for a while, and here we go. Monty, Stram, Lukanov. Will be Halliburton filing in the pits? He will not. He's already come down pit lane. That would be a little bit silly for him to do that, but Bradshaw does right behind. Will this be the race lead for Halliburton? Will he be able to jump his way up into that spot? Yes, he will, and will do it in quite comfortable fashion as well. Stram and Monty still stopped in the pit stall. Monty going to jump out in front. Stram now out and away. Stram has had a little bit of misfortune with those pit stops thus far this season, and once again proving that as he's now going to drop down outside the top 5, now behind the likes of Martin Visser, Jason Green, Joao Tabino, and Josh Justice. Andre Favini still dropping down, losing places. Same for Adam Bradshaw. Brad Cathcart on pit exit along with Favini as well. Dmitry Lukanov exited out of the pit in P12. I do want to say, though, talking about the pit stop that we just saw from your at 1 point P2 runner of Nathaniel Schramm, 16 and a half seconds down pit lane compared to everybody else running firmly in either the low 10s or very, very, very early teens.
Yeah, he's a little bit longer. Obviously, first time here. If you're only used to running officials, they don't have to make pit stops. So this is a whole new thing for this league that you don't get in the official series. Is you have to come into the pits, you have to make a stop, you have to add fuel. As we're going to get a replay here, that looks like Gorson. Is that his car? No, it's Dirk Braun. I'm sorry, that is Dirk Braun as he's working his way into Jonesau. And we're going to get a spin. What do we got here? Yep, just a little bit too much, a little late on entry. Half spin, caught it very nicely. You see Favini going around a couple other cars as well. So he's going to drop a couple positions. And we've got, unfortunately, we've got a nice 6-car group here up at the front. That's the great news for the racing. The bad news is Kane Halliburton's about 9 seconds ahead of this group. So they'll be able to keep up and make a little bit of time running together, but I don't know if any of those guys are going to be fast enough even working together to catch Halliburton with a 9-second gap with 9 minutes to go.
This is a terrible time to bring up this stat, considering there's a 9-second gap between he and the race lead, but Jörg Monty was the last non-Spec 1 competitor to win a race overall in a Spec race for the Weekend Warriors event. It was back in Season 1 of 2025, and it was at Donington Park for round number 8. For context of how long ago that was, pretty sure at that point, that was... If I remember correctly, that was Guido's first day in the production truck of these Weekend Warriors shows. I had to miss out on the Spec race of Fords. Instead, we had a meowing man from the Air Force in the form of Mr. Adam Thompson in the booth alongside our old pal who just wrapped up his stint on the American Muscle Series, Randall McGrew, on the call for that. It's been quite some time since a non-Spec 1 competitor has won one of these races. Doesn't look like today will be the day, as Monty is breaking away from the chaos going on behind Joao Tabino. Really opportunistic on the moves all through 8 and 9, was able to shuffle his way up into the overall podium, holding on to the final spot in third. As we jump to this battle a little bit farther behind, involving Alexander Gorson with Dmitry Lukanov at the front end of it.
Yeah, that was a good move by Tabino, taking it on the outside around Justice and making that move happen. But they're all still together. So we've got Monty, Tabino, Justice. That is 2, 3, and 4. Visser just behind. He's in that pack. Schramm is there as well. Jason Green. Ian Joyner, unfortunately, in P8 is about 4.5 seconds behind this pack of cars. So you see the battle going on with Tabino working his way. Oh, a little contact with Monty there going down the straightaway.
Oh, I am so happy that I had my microphone muted there. You would not want to know the noise that came out of my mouth when I saw that bit of contact hang down the start-finish straightaway. Schramm sets a quick time with a 146.9 as Joao Tabino and Jurek Moniga duke it out once again for the race lead. Here they go out of Curva de Sol through turn number 3 onto the Reto Pasta. They're going to go down this back straightaway into turn 4, side by side between those two, side by side right behind a 4-pack of SRFs down into turn 4. Who's going to win on this fight? Will it be Tabino or will it be Schramm in their respective fights? Give it to Tabino in that battle with himself and Monty. Give it to Justice in his battle with Schramm.
Yeah, great job by both Monty and Schramm on outside of turn 4, able to crest over that curb and not end up, somewhere in the somewhere near the lake. Great driving to carry the momentum through there, and Monty able to stay in front of Tabino here. With Schramm now looks like he's got the better half of this against Josh Justice there, and they're still fighting as they switch back and forth. It looks like Schramm is going to get that spot, and Justice trying to hang on, but it's going to have to fall behind, so he's going to fall down to P5. So still great battling here. As we've got Marsden now with the black flag, that's for incidents, so he's going to have to come in and serve his drive-through as well. That is one thing that we didn't talk about, is that this is one of those tracks where it is easy to collect off tracks and incident points. And you're starting to see it with some of our newer drivers are figuring out now. Marsden getting the black flag and a slowdown, and I think he's decided he is towed back to the pits. So that's probably means there was a wreck involved in there somewhere, as they're still battling down the front straight.
Oh, and here they go. They're nearly 3 wide right behind. Monty gets abducted by a UFO once again, but he's side by side with Tabino. Sweeps around the outside into the center S and into P2. He's going to go hold on to that spot. Schramm and Justice continue to fight. Justice got to lose out on a spot to Martin Visser, as here comes Jason Green and all that battling. He is caught up as we take a look at the replay to see what went on with Marsden. Quick things going on back to back to back for him. Let's see through turn number 11 into 12 right now. Pulls off the side of the racetrack, stops by the barrier, taps the wall ever so slightly, and calls it a day.
Yeah, to paraphrase Morgan Freeman, it was at that moment he realized he was in trouble. That he had his black flag. So I think he was a realization that he's going to have to come in and make a drive through. He said, you know what, it's probably not worth it. I'm just going to pull over and park it.
After all of ththese years, I never knew that was a Morgan Freeman quote. The more you know.
That's who I'm attributed to. I believe it is, and but because every time I've ever heard it, it was in Morgan Freeman voice. So I'm going to assume that's who it was. Of course, it's a little more saltier than when I usually hear it, but we can't do that on the YouTube.
See, I was going to go through and look up the clip so I can refresh myself to see whether or not it was Morgan Freeman's voice, but knowing my luck, I'd probably drop an F-bomb. This boom bot described the sound made when a sheep explodes. Kane Halliburton now leads by nearly 13 seconds over Joao Tabino. I don't know what it is about Kane Halliburton. Whenever he wins these races, even at a draft-heavy track like this, he doesn't win it by a couple of tenths, a couple of hundredths. We've seen some races here in the past be decided by a couple of thousands. So, contact being made on the start-finish straightaway, and there are 3 wide. Schramm, Monty, and Tabino gonna duke it out for those final 2 podium spots. There's a contact. Around goes Monty. He's gonna keep it going in a straight line as he tries to rejoin the racetrack. Code brown moment for Justice and Visser right behind. It was a matter of inches between that spinning car of Monty and the still going straight machine, the 137 of Martin Visser. Joao Tabino, Nathaniel Schramm still going to be battling for those final 2 podium spots that they now hold on to uncontested. 3 wide right behind. Oh, that's a tight squeeze. That is oh so close. Dirk Braun saying, nope, I'm gonna back out of this. See you guys later. That's Thomas Renders and Phil Berry battling for the Spec 2 lead as your reigning Spec 2 champion watches from afar.
Yeah, as we see, Monty has got that car collected. I did think there was contact between him and Josh Justice, as Monty was trying to save it and trying to get the car rejoined, maybe release the brakes just a little early, and made some contact there with Justice, but he's not that far off. It looks like he is trying to close that gap back down. But yeah, some great battling up at the front of this group between himself and Tabino and Schramm. I don't think it's over with yet. I think Tabino and Schramm are going to start going at it here in short order. I think we're at white flag coming up. It's going to be close. Very, very close.
Yet again, after the Formula Ford race and how that went earlier on, it's going to be very similar to this, but 2 to go at the line. There is a white flag. Right as we say it, perfect timing there. Kane Halliburton got to start the final lap of this race here at Interlagos to cap off what's been a brilliant drive for him. Who's going to round out the podium, though? That is still an open-ended question. Schramm and Tabino side by side as they come across the line. Maybe a preview of what the finish is going to be of this race. Schramm jumps into second. Tabino, contact! They spin off the track. They go off into the turn. A huge hit for Schramm. Big implications of the championship for your one-time championship contender as Martin Visser and Jason Green going to inherit those 2 podium spots.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll need a replay, but I kind of feel like I understand what I saw is what happened, but we might want to look at that again, but we have to wait maybe until after this is done, as we've got Visser with Green right on his tail, Josh Justice, and this is the battle for the final 2 podium positions between these 3 cars.
Never say it's over until it's over, and for these racers that are running behind in that battle for so long, it's not over for them yet. Martin Visser holding on to P2. Jason Green, I don't remember the last time Jason finished on a podium on these Spec Racer Ford races. May be able to do it here today as he goes for the move on P2, heading down into turn number 8. That could have ended in tears, but he goes for it now into 9, and that right there was Visser getting so crossed up into the turn. Green gonna jump his way up in a second now. Visser gonna have to fight for his life to hold on to that final podium spot. It's himself and Josh Justice duking it out. Jurg Monty not too terribly far back as well, but just not enough time left for him. Meanwhile, Kane Halliburton a couple of seconds away from completing what has been a brilliant drive for him here at Interlagos. Was able to grab his 2nd win of the season last time at Watkins Glen, and here at Interlagos grabs win number 3. Kane Halliburton getting very flirtatious with that inside wall. He wins it here at Interlagos. Side-by-side battling may go on behind Jason Green, is on track for 2nd, as Martin Visser and Josh Justice going to duke it out right to the line. It's going to be a photo finish for the final podium spot. Who's going to get the news out on who? Give it to Justice by 0.08 of a second.
Wow. Yeah, I kind of was watching that as Visser. Visser is obviously very racy. Great run by him in his maiden attempt here to get a P4, but he fought so hard to keep Justice behind him, not realizing that Justice was going to have a huge run down the front straight. And Justice, being the Spec Racer driver in real life that he is, understands what to do with that draft when he gets it. So great run, great job by Visser to finish 4th in his first race with us. But Halliburton, of course, class of the field today. Great run, was out there, had a great pit stop, obviously. Shortest down pit road by a couple of tenths. And so great run by Kane, great run by Jason. I think the last time Jason was on the podium might have been the Donington Park incident in the Spec Racers between Samoas and Panero with the double DQ. So that might have been the last time we saw Jason up at the front. But a great run nonetheless to get P2. Yeah, so here we go. This is a replay. This is Tabino and Schramm. Tabino moves over to the outside, and then just as he was going to make the dive, he was trying to set the dummy up to make a dive down to the inside just as Schramm broke. And so just cars colliding. Tabino was trying to just be aggressive and make the run down, but you could just see that Schramm was right at the braking point, started braking. And there's really nowhere for Tabino to go. That was just a racing incident. There's no, I don't see any maliciousness there. That was just good, hard racing by those 2 drivers.
Yeah, that's the sort of situation that you find yourself in right at the end of these races. As we take a look at drivers trying to burn it down at the very end. I think that was, I'm not exactly sure who that. Oh, golly.
That's
bad time. Oh, yep.
It's,
why is it these these Spec Racer Ford burn 'em up wreckfest at the end are usually, they seem so vicious compared to the Formula Vs and the Formula 4. Like, we had a Formula V car lawn dart at Magny Cory yesterday, but these Spec Racer Fords, it's like 2 blocks of tungsten slamming right into each other.
Yeah, and you see the parts just, they're doing what they're supposed to do. Is when there's contact, the heavy contact like that, they break away to deplete energy. That's what that's for, and you get the Pop-Tart effect with these Spec Racers as the top pops right up off. You hit the Lego My Ego, but a great race again. Love Interlagos. Hate driving it. Love watching racing here, as it's just fun racing, and that draft just makes these spec racer races just exciting from start to finish. Even though we had a runaway winner, we still had a really great battle for the final 2 podium spots, and so it was great battles all amongst the grid. As those guys were fighting for every position they could get. So very, very, very fun race, and highly enjoyed it.
I'm not sure what I can say about these races crashing, so let's take a look at the results before I see a driver strike the moon. Again, here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, the only iRacing broadcaster that needs insurance protection for its drones, helicopters, and blimps to prevent from vehicle impacts. Here are your race results, though. Kane Halliburton wins by 15.5 seconds, which that's a small gap in Formula One terms, but in the Spec Racer Fords, that's a vast yawning chasm. Well done to Kane Halliburton. What a drive for him here to capture win number 3. Jason Green is going to finish in second. Josh Justice will round out your podium in third. That's Martin Visser from Jurk Monty completing our top 5. Monty wins it in the Masters category. Phil Berry, props to him in the 888 car. He walks away with a win in the Spec 2 class. Dirk Braun will finish in 7th. Thomas Renders in 8th. Nathaniel Schramm will finish this race in P9. A rather heartbreaking finish for him in this race, but certainly nothing that either of them were doing was malicious, just hard racing and contact right at the very end. And then it's Dmitry Lukanov in front of Alexander Gorson, Gavin Adrian, Manfred Floor, Joachim Ozbeck, Ian Joyner, Adam Bradshaw, Brad Cathcart, and Matt Thompson completing the first page of our results here tonight.
Yep, and we'll scroll over to page 2. We can wake Guido up. There we go. Brad Cathcart finishing in 17th. Matt Thompson 18th. Kurt Nunez in 19th. Ben Rycroft in 20th. Andrea Favini finishing in 21st. Chris Thorpe in 22nd. Josh Flores finishing in 23rd. Paul Jackson in 24th. Jim Brewster 25th. Marcus Burkett in 26th. Nicholas Rycroft in 27th. Peter Zoldos finishing in 28th. Joao Tabino finishing in 29th. First car a lap down. Declan Marsden finishing in 30th. Christoph Langendonk finishing in 31st. Timo Nolte in 32nd. Scott Russell in 33rd. Josh Wilkie in 34th. And Charlie Vaccaro finishing in 35th. Did not take the start. I don't believe it did not. So that is your 35 car finishing results.
And so those are your results today here at Interlagos. And we got some drivers looking to have a chat with us at the end of this broadcast. So I'll get the interviews kick-started by having a chat with our race winner here today, Kane Halliburton, joining us now in the broadcast booth. Kane, welcome in. Congratulations on winning this race by 15.5 seconds. I said as we were going through the results that is a massive gap to pull in a Spec Racer Ford race. So how was it out there for you here today?
That was an interesting race. It was a little bit more straightforward than I was expecting, to be honest. But the drivers behind were playing a lot of fuel-saving games to the point of diminishing returns. So I decided to pit early, use my pace advantage to try and undercut, and it ended up working out well.
Yeah, that strategy call from you here in this race seemed to be a masterstroke, getting at the chaos and the pandemonium that we saw in the early stages. I want to ask you about that, because here in these Spec Racer Fords, it feels kind of like a NASCAR-style plate race, but on a road course. I can't even imagine how the nerves are in the cockpit, because I know from my perspective in the broadcast, with just seeing y'all battle is a little bit unnerving.
Yeah. I imagine it is a bit chaotic in the middle of the pack, but luckily enough, I was able to just position myself where it's nice and safe. As long as you're in the top 3, top 4, you can relax, and just think about strategy, focus on your driving, focus on the limit, and it worked out well.
Yeah, it worked out fantastic for you here today, grabbing your 3rd win of the season in the first 5 races. Want to ask you about the next round of the championship at the Chicago Street Course in 1 week's time.
I've never watched that course before. I've never even seen any on boards, but it looks fun. I'm looking forward to testing it out for the first time later this week. But yeah, I think it'll produce some cool racing. A different type of track I've never been on before.
I think that will be only the second time that I've covered a race at the Chicago Street Course. It would be nice to see iRacing click it off to base content since it's not part of the NASCAR schedule anymore. But, we can give our requests all we want, and iRacing will play and march to the beat of their own drum. But, Kane, we'll let you give any thanks or shout-outs before we let you go and celebrate this dominant win here today.
Yep, thanks to Slow Motion Broadcasting for the great coverage as usual. Thanks to Stevie and everybody that makes Weekend Warriors work. It was a testament to how great it is when it's been going 10 years strong, still popular as ever. Shout out to Suelio and the Almeida Racing Academy, and a special shout out to Zaki Ibrahim Jr., who won the North American and Central American Formula 4 Championship today in real life. But yeah, that's it from me.
There you go, man. Well, hey, thank you for the kind words. Thank you for joining us in the booth, Kane. Congratulations on the race win, and looking forward to seeing you out there on the streets of Chicago next time out.
Yep, me too. Thanks.
And that right there was Kane Halliburton. First time I've gotten the opportunity to have a chat with him since I think probably about March of 2024. Time flies when you're having fun. But Charles, we got some more drivers up there. I'll let you have dibs on who you want to speak with.
Well, let's bring in Jason Green, our P2 finisher. I'll leave you with Phil, and then we'll round off with Josh, because I love interviewing Josh. Anyway, so Jason, congratulations on the P2. Ron gave you this nickname, the Professor, but I think just based on the way you finish races, I'm going to call you Mr. Right Place, Right Time. It just seems like you're just in the right spot for an opportunity to present itself, and then you take advantage of it. So you're running in the top 5, and then you get a great battle down the front straight with 2 cars crashing out. You just swoop in and pick up P2.
Yeah, I definitely got really, really lucky there. Yeah, I was just kind of hanging out in P6 or P7, something like that, at the back of that second pack. At the end there, I was already at the back of it, so kind of barging my way in there and getting in the middle of it didn't really seem like the play. Could tell that something was probably going to happen, so I just kind of waited for my moments. Started to go forward a little bit. I think there was Monty and Nate came together. And then the last lap deal that's gifted me a couple positions. So yeah, definitely really lucky for sure. But kind of a draft track, so you kind of have to get a little lucky to get a good finish.
Yeah. So how much fuel saving was going on in that front group at the beginning of the first half of the race?
Oh yeah, a ton of fuel saving, which was really hesitant about pitting early because I knew that they'll put me at a disadvantage on the pit stops. But I felt like the laps weren't very quick, maybe like a second off pace. So I thought I could make it work. But yeah, there was just too much traffic when I came out of the pits. So that kind of negated all of that time. So, but yeah, there was definitely a lot of fuel saving. Kane managed to save a whole bunch of fuel. It was 2 seconds faster than everybody else, as usual. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's pretty much. It was pretty cool to have 15 cars in that front pack. Once the second pack out began. So yeah, lots of fuel saving.
Yeah, I think that probably helped with the 15 cars as well. It just not really up on the upper limits of the pace. So next week we got the Chicago Street Course. I've seen races there. I've never called a race there. Unfortunately, I don't have to call it next week because I won't be here. But so what are your thoughts about that course?
Yeah, I'm still trying to convince myself to actually buy it. So I really don't want to. It doesn't.
Okay.
I don't. It doesn't look a very good track. But I'll probably be there anyway. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think a race similar to like Belle Isle or another street track like that. And in these cars, in that the huge straights there, it's probably going to just be a huge draft track, street track. So I'm sure nothing can go wrong with that combination.
Oh no, absolutely not. No,
it'll
for
be
sure.
Fine. Yeah.
Absolutely. Jason, congratulations, and we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs and let you go celebrate another podium.
Yep. Shout out to we had a bunch of new people today, so shout out to them. It's awesome to have new people join, and I hope to see them the rest of the season.
Awesome, Jason. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. Thanks, Charles.
And that right there was Jason Green, our P2 finisher here today. And I'll drag in Phil Berry, our Spec 2 winner, to have a quick little chat with him. Phil, welcome into the broadcast booth. Congratulations on the Spec 2 win here today. It's P6 for you at the end and 16 spots gained from the drop of the green through to the fall of the checkered. So how was it out there at Interlagos?
It was actually a really, really cool race. I got a great start off the green. I just went up the outside, and I must have made 6 or 7 spots there. And then it was just the job to try and stay with that 15-car pack for most of the race.
I can imagine it was rather terrifying in the early stages being involved in such a hornet's nest. I described it to Kane in the first interview after the race, how like our nerves in the broadcast booth are usually running at the limit. I can't even imagine how it is behind the wheel being involved in such a hornet's nest all throughout.
Oh yeah, it is very butt clenching going into that first turn, and there's 3, 4 wide, and it's like, please don't hit me, please don't hit me.
I can very much so believe that.
Yeah, but overall, it was a brilliant race. I didn't realise I'd finish. I think this is my highest finish ever in the race. So very proud of that one.
I'm looking through. I believe it's up there this season in terms of Spec 2 winners. So a pretty darn good performance from you here, Phil. I want to ask you though about the next round of the championship, the Chicago Street Course. That is probably the unknown quantity of all time. It's not really a popular track on iRacing, still behind that paywall. So are you going to be out there for that race in 1 week's time? And if so, what are your thoughts heading there?
Yes, I will be, but yeah, I've never actually raced there, so it's going to be a very big unknown quantity. Hopefully, we get a few people there, but yeah, as you say, it's up behind that paywall. We'll have to wait and see how many actually show up.
I'm hoping that we have a strong field, because that track, even though it's going to be a bit of a drafter and it really has no runoff area to speak of, I'm expecting some drama, but the good kind of drama, at least from our perspective here in the broadcast booth. But Phil Berry, thank you so much for joining us here in the broadcast booth. And before we let you go and celebrate the Spec 2 win, is there anybody you want to give a thanks to or shout out?
Oh, Stevie, for all the support with the league, and actually everyone that comes and races. It's just something I look forward to every week, and get up mighty early so that I can actually race.
Well, yeah, good way to start off your day with some fantastic Spec Racer Forward action. Always love seeing you out there in that Cookie Monster car, Phil. Well done on the Spec 2 win today, and looking forward to seeing you out there at the Chicago Street Course next time out.
All right, thank you.
And that right there was Phil Berry joining us here in the broadcast booth. Unfortunately, I think Josh Justice decided to bail out. I guess we ran out of snacks there in the interview waiting area. But Charles, that was a darn good race in Interlagos. We always expect the drama here, and we most certainly got it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fuel saving early in the race kept that front group really close, made for some exciting racing, and then of course. We talk about it so often that the pit stops usually kind of separate the front runners from the mid pack guys, and no exception this week is Kane Halliburton, just dominant. He wasn't 15 seconds dominant at least for the first half of the race, because he didn't need to be. Basically, everybody was just saving fuel behind him. They were running in a pack. They were happy to do it, but then when it's time to make the money, the second half after the pit stop, he showed why he's an elite driver.
Yeah, Kane Halliburton, a top running competitor, and any sort of equipment that he put him in, and he most certainly proved it here today in round number 5 of the Metro Auto Rebuild Weekend Warriors League. He's put in some darn good performances in these Spec Racer Fords, and will look to hit the ground running next time out at the Chicago Street Course. On a brief little tangent of a somewhat serious note, which is very rare for me to do on a broadcast, Kane races with the Jamaican flag, and certainly wishing all of Jamaica the best as they're bracing for the impact of Hurricane Melissa in the not too far off future. So hope for the safety of everybody in Jamaica over the next few days as that storm rapidly approaches. I remember back in 2012 when here on the East Coast we got hit with Superstorm Sandy, and even though that wasn't a direct impact, I remember seeing one of the childhood roller coaster, the rather famous image of the roller coaster on the Jersey Shore out in the ocean. That was a roller coaster that I used to ride on in my childhood, so I remember that was a very stark image indeed. So hopefully wishing Jamaica and everybody in the islands nothing but the best as that hurricane rapidly approaches. But to get back into a little bit of goofy gooberness before we wrap up this broadcast, hope everybody has enjoyed this broadcast. But hey, that's not the end of the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. In fact, not even the end of it here today. Coming up later on tonight, we have got round number 7 of Cross Series League Racing XSLR returning after a 1-week break, running the big block modifieds at Lanier Speedway, the track that I never knew was right across the street from Road Atlanta until probably about a year and a half ago. That's a darn good dirt track, so looking forward to seeing that action. SRG F4 going to be at Motorsports Arena, Osher-Slaben. SRG F3 action at Alton Park. And then next weekend, we have got you covered with the Formula V's at Summit Point, the FF 1600s running at Brands Hatch on the same day and the same weekend as the iRacing FF 1600 Festival at Brands Hatch, and the Spec Racer Fords also going to be running at the Chicago Street Course. A lot of good action to look forward to here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Gives you a very good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. But as for this broadcast here, for round number 5 of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors, sponsored by Metro Auto Rebuild, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzucchi doing a wonderful job working on the cameras and the graphics inside of the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.